Welcome to the Skilled Trade Rescue Podcast. My name is Martin King, always your host. I'm going to have a special guest on this episode of the podcast today. His name is Dan Dowdy. Dan is a 20-year veteran as a master plumber, and he has a story I'm sure a lot of you can relate to out there. He came up in the trades through a family business. And one of the many things that Dan shared with me that really resonated was his experiences of working in a family business, literally having to do all tasks within that business, including working on plumbing, is he learned how to understand more about what he calls generational leadership. And I think you'll find if you listen closely to this interview, you're going to understand his concepts of generational leadership and maybe how you can apply these concepts to your business. Now, the good news is Dan is actually the proprietor of a company called Built for the Trades. He no longer works as a plumber. Well, I'm sure he fixes his own plumbing, but for the most part, he's not wrenching anymore, and he's helping all types of businesses developing their own internal leadership teams and helping them understand how to decode the challenges that have existed in the skilled trade businesses for a long time. For example, how to find and retain quality employees. So he's got some interesting concepts, I think things that I haven't really considered before, and I've been doing this a long time. I got a lot out of this for sure. I hope you do too. So sit back, relax. Hope you enjoy this episode of the Skilled Trade Rescue Podcast, and let's jump right into the show. So hey, Dan, welcome, man.
Martin, thank you for having me, man. I'm really excited to hop on the podcast and just talk.
Yeah, I've been keeping an eye on you for a bit on LinkedIn, and of course, I'm always looking for other skilled trade enthusiasts who are doing their part to try to get the word out. So, welcome to the show, and give the audience a little kind of a story about how you ended up doing what you're doing, and just your background, and just let them get to know you a little bit.
I can definitely do that. So. Background, second generation master plumber out here in Texas. I think a lot of people listening in the trades understand the generational pride there is in generational companies. But, I've been in the trades for 24 years now. And though my background's plumbing, currently I own a company called Built for the Trades. And we help build and structure leadership teams for companies and train them up and help business owners establish their vision and build, really ultimately build self-operating businesses. But people kind of ask me how I got to where I'm at today. And my response usually is it's a combination of making a lot of mistakes on my own and learning the hard way and hiring other coaches to teach me how to actually do it. And so I'm living my dream nowadays. Nowadays I'm full-time, just investing in other trades businesses, helping them grow and achieve the success that I achieved in my business. And so I'm excited to be on the show and share some more with your audience.
Excellent. So did you actually have a plumbing business, or did you go straight from being an in the field tech to doing this consulting, this business you're in now? What was that all about?
Yeah, so I grew up in a family business, a
Okay.
small family plumbing business out here in Texas. And so I've been doing it the majority of my entire life, but so I am one of those guys. It's actually really cool. It's really relatable for people that I work with because I've been an apprentice. I've been a licensed technician. I've answered phones. I've been a service manager, a general manager, an owner. I've done all those different things. And so getting to where I'm at today, there was just a point, I guess, in 2019 where I'm also part of the John Maxwell leadership team, their coaching, training, speaking program. And I just really felt called to step away from that business and start Built for the Trades full time with the vision of there's a gap in generational leadership. And it leads to high turnover, having a hard time finding people that want to work, really ultimately leads to, how do we attract the next generation coming up? And I just really felt I was called towards that. So I left my whole path, and my wife and I kind of sold everything we had and went after Built for the Trades full time. Started that January 2020, and the best year to start a business, right before COVID cranked up, and just really started building that on relationships. I had relationships all over the nation and picked up a few clients and just kind of went to work building the brand and building what we do. And what makes us really different is we don't try to be all things to all people. We really just focus on top-down leadership for companies. And what we find is there's a really underserved population of the trades, which is a small mom and pop companies who, it's usually a married couple. They start their dream, whatever trade it is. They grow it usually to about 10 to 15 employees, $1 million or so in sales. And next thing you know, they're wondering why they ever did this, because they're working 24/7, they're pulling their hair out and things like that. And so I felt like that was an underserved part of the trades, because when you listen to other podcasts and stuff, I mean, it's usually people talking about, my business got bought up, now we're a $100 million business and we're doing these things. And I feel like these other small businesses needed help to grow to the next level. So we really work with businesses, usually about $1 million to $10 million in sales, and we help them kind of bridge those revenue plateaus in there. So that's a long answer to your question, but really, I was an owner of a business before I started Built for the Trades full time.
Yeah, that's great. I used to say all the time, I had a very similar background. I never went to Harvard Business School, but I know I paid the tuition by some of the screw ups.
That's it. That's it.
So the niche you're filling, Dan, is you get a existing business that is struggling, or you have a technician that may have an idea. He saved up some capital. He wants to start his own business. Do you take in those two types of clients, or are you only focused on existing businesses?
We take anybody into Built for the Trades. Really, the brand and who we are at Built for the Trades. We say we are Built for the Trades. It's when I started, I said, man, a handshake means everything. You're only as good as your word. I grew up in a trade generation where that was legit. I mean, that's really what it was. And I feel like there's still a lot of those people out there in the trades. And I feel like there's a lot of other people in the trades that are just all about selling and money, really, at the end of the day. And I like selling and money too. I'm not against it. So anyways, I started Built for the Trades to kind of have a movement of people who are like-minded in that. And so really, we invite everybody to the trades, just good core value, integrity people that are out there putting their best foot forward and working hard and serving their customers. That's really who we want to just be a part of the community. But as far as who we like actually engage and work with, it's typically that it's not necessarily just a brand new startup companies, but usually 1, 2, 3 trucks out there running, trying to figure it out. And we have different programs for them, from free resources to mastermind groups to coaching, which I'm sure you're probably familiar with all that. That can help them grow the next level. But really, we love, it's usually not always struggling companies. A lot of times companies grow to $1 million or $2 million in sales and they hit this plateau. It's because they don't really know how to get to the next level. It's just kind of the natural progression is, hey, we're good at the trade, we're working really hard, and we're just doing our thing. But how do you go from 2 million to 4 million, or 4 million to 5 million? Like, how do you grow? And the answer is you got to have a clear vision for where you want to go, mission, core values. You have to have a good chain of command, what the next 3 years looks like. And you start sharing that with people around you and sharing that with the public. People start to raise their hand and say, hey, I want to be a part of your organization. Next thing you know, you're attracting top team members to your business who may actually be taking a pay cut to come to work there because they see your vision and they want to be a part of it.
Right. Are you still seeing, like, I'm thinking back when I started, there was plateaus. So, you typical technician turned business owner, they get their first service truck and they're out there just scrapping around, getting whatever they possibly can. And one thing leads to another and they grow and grow and grow. Mm-hmm. And I noticed that when we were doing, I was in the HVAC refrigeration commercial side, right? So I noticed when we were doing that from 0 to 750 to 1.2, that was sort of the sweet spot. We were making a lot of money, but we didn't have to have a big administrative staff to facilitate all that business. And then once we went from 1.2 to 1, it was a very small step. 1.2 to 1.3, 1.4 is when our administrative staff blew up. And what you said earlier, I was like, do I really want to have a bigger business? Because you have that natural progression. You're doing a good job, and when you're small like that, you can give your customers that intimate relationship. Anyone can call me, the owner, and I can do all that stuff and have conversations with them, and they appreciate that. And there's a natural progression. If you're servicing the market real good, you got new customers coming in, and it just naturally happens a lot of times that your business is growing and growing. But once we got to that 1.3, it turned miserable. Why don't we talk about that a little bit, Dan?
Let's do that. Yeah, I have a great story behind that. That actually just happened recently. But, you know, when I first got into this coaching space and I was working with business owners, the first thing I would do is come in and say, I'd go on site and I'd say, let's establish your mission or your vision, your mission, your core values. And let's establish your 3-year vision map is what I call it. It's your organizational chart, really. And what I didn't know is how to get people to realistically think about what they actually wanted to achieve. I would have business owners that want to go from, 7 million currently to 30 million in 3 years, or from, 1 million to 10 million in 3 years. And what I had to learn was I needed to coach that person to the reality of what that's actually going to take. Because if I'm working with a business owner who's in their 50s or 60s, have their son or daughter coming up in the business and they're ready to kind of ride off in the sunset of their career, well, if you want to grow by $10 million in 3 years, I need somebody who's willing to really get after it and get uncomfortable and invest some money and really go hard. And so there's a disconnect in the vision. And recently I was sitting down with a client walking through that. What does the next 3 years look like? And they said, I want to be 10 million. They're currently a $3 million a year business. And I said, okay. So I started challenging them on that. What does that look like to be 10 million? So we drew it out, all the personnel and the management and all the people, and they realized like, wow, okay, that's a serious organization. And so I broke it down for them and I said, look, if you're doing 8 million, I just threw out 8 million at 10% net profit. After you pay all the bills, pay yourself, that's what, $800,000 a year. If you do 6 million at 20% net profit, that's $1.2 million a year, right? And if you're doing 4 million at 20% net profit, that's $800,000 a year. So it's not necessarily that bigger is better is what I'm trying to tell them. It's like, let's build a business that meets your lifestyle. What do you want out of your business? Let me help you get there. Let's not think about the big numbers. And that was really eye-opening for them. They're like, wow, okay. And so we ended up settling on a $6 million a year business, but they were already doing $3 million in construction. In the next 3 years, all they needed to do was grow their service department to a $3 million service department. So that's a very doable goal for people. And to what you said, you're exactly right. At 1.2 to 1.4 million, it all looks different. And a good example of this is marketing. When you're up to a $1 million a year company, you're probably working on a referral basis. You probably have a website and a Google listing, but that's about it, right? You're working off word of mouth, depending on how long you've been in your community. I start working with some companies who are spending nothing on their marketing, and they're $1 or $2 million a year companies. But all of a sudden, they want to grow. They outgrow their current clientele, and they have to start competing in the marketing game. And that's just a completely different spin around. If I start telling people, hey, I need you to spend 10% of your overall revenue in marketing, and we need to strategize what that looks like, it is really hard for people to wrap their mind around, especially when they're not spending anything on their marketing.
Yeah, and you know what, even making that more fun is we have and this is sort of a segue, the next thing I want to talk about, the labor shortage, right? And finding quality. They care about the customer. They're technically excellent. They've got great work ethic. They don't have a lot of, personal challenges, all that stuff, all the stuff that makes a perfect technician to take care of the customers. They're hard to come by. And when you start growing like that and you have a, $3 million, $6 million a year company, you'll have a lot of technicians. Some will be great, some won't be. But when it's an immense amount of pressure that comes upon the business owners on the marketing side, if that business gets slow, those technicians will get poached in a second. And it's gotten even worse, and I here in Portland, every once in a while I'm looking through the job postings for anything, you name it, electrician, plumber, HVAC, refrigeration, doesn't matter, all the real, common ones that people think about. And some of these companies are offering, $5,000, $6,000, $10,000 signing bonuses to jump, right? And back in the day, there's always been labor shortages, but it's gotten very intense. So you're not only looking at a bigger business with a lot more moving parts, there's a lot more pressure to keep everybody working. Because if you don't, it only takes a few short work weeks to lose somebody really, really good.
That's very true. Yeah, that's very true. I'll jump in here and share a few thoughts on this. Small companies quickly can get caught up in comparing themselves to their competitors, and when in doing so, they feel like sign-on bonuses is the only way to attract and retain these top team members. But the reality is, if you're bringing people on because of a sign-on bonus, they're going to leave because of a sign-on bonus,
Right.
unless you have more to keep them on board. And I'm not meaning just more money. I mean, any company needs to pay competitively in order to bring and keep top talented people. But people are more attached to, especially if you have your core values front and center, really more attached to the leaders in the organization, the culture, the vision of the organization, where are we going? And then, you know, if an organization adopts technology and has that going on, that'll definitely attract and retain the next generation, you know, the Gen Zs and millennials and things like that. So I just want people out there to kind of challenge their mind and remember that there's more than money that will attract and retain top team members. It's just, you know, what is that? And I've kind of gone through those things, and I just want to encourage people, don't get caught up in that rat race, because it's not really a great long-term plan for your business. And also money-driven people, and I'm kind of throwing these people in a hole, so I'll be careful what I say here, but you got to be careful that person's not cheating your customer as well if they're solely driven by money and you don't have any core values in your business. You got to be really careful, because I think that's just humans in general, right? That's very much a temptation, and being in such a high demand, being in the trades is high demand, right? And great pay. And if you got a license in your pocket, man, you are wanted. And in this day and age, the difference is there's a lot of options out there for the people that you're looking to bring into your business.
So what are without giving away all the secret sauce here, what are some of the more popular and effective ways, you know, let's say you have a growing business and you've got that constant pressure to find new talent. What are some of the easy things that businesses, the low-hanging fruit, can do without throwing money at people to attract new talent to join the team?
Okay. It's a great question, Martin. So really, you know, I'm a leadership coach, and we believe that if you want change, you have to first change. And so we talk about know yourself to grow yourself and things like that in our organization. So the first thing is just a positive attitude. So many times I sit next to business owners and I hear these things. Dan, you know what? There's no good kids out there in the trades anymore. They're all worthless. Nobody wants to work. They come and they go, and they come and they go. And I tell you what, I wouldn't want to work for you. I would not want to work for you if that's the attitude that you had. So people want positive, transparent leaders. They want leaders that are real, not leaders that are always right. You know, they want people that are going to own up to their mistakes, but keep pushing and moving forward. That's first and foremost, is just letting everybody know, really just to check your attitude and what you're saying. You know, if you're realizing that, hey, this is a challenge, then the way you could say it is, look, finding and hiring people has been a challenge, but I also see it as an opportunity. So I'm going to make a few tweaks in my business to separate myself and to start to attract these people as much as possible, because there are great people out there looking to be in the trades. There are great kids out there, and it's really just a matter of finding where they're at. And it's really a matter of their upbringing. You know, if you can find kids who have worked, have been taught to work and have some good core values, then you can take that person and make them into something. And one of the biggest fears that a lot of business owners have is, well, Dan, you know, I did that before, but I trained them up. I spent $10,000 training them, and they left to go for more pay, right? And that is the biggest hindrance of our future, is our past. I hear that and I just think, man, this person is literally speaking about their past. And so what they do is they shut down, and all they want to do is complain about it at that moment. Well, this is stupid. I'm not going to do it again. I don't want to waste that money. And so that stops them, that plateaus them from growing. And the reality is you just have to learn from it and keep pushing to the next level, because you might find that person who comes to you and you spend $10,000 and they make you $1 million. You know what I mean? Because they stay in your business and they work hard. And so that's kind of the first step in attracting these people, is just checking your attitude and making sure you're speaking the right things. So that way, you know, you are separating yourself from every other business owner out there who's negative about this.
Mm-hmm. Have you ever talked to Ty Brenneman? He's an instructor in HVAC.
I haven't.
Well, anyway, he gave me some really interesting insight to how the generation now learns. So he runs a trade school, or he's a trade school instructor. Mm-hmm. And Ty, if you're listening, I may get this not exactly right, but this is what I took away from it. So in the old days, in a teaching environment, the instructor would, you know, get upset if you got your phone out or you start, you know, taking pictures and things like that, right? Mm-hmm. Don't do that while I'm in class, you know, or while you're in class, and, you know, just giving you the lecture. And Ty's approach on that is like, totally different. He's like when he's in class and he's, got guys that are troubleshooting pieces of equipment out in the shop, as long as it's safe, right? He's like, he encourages them to take pictures and yeah, man, if you're proud of what you're doing, take a picture of it and send it to all your friends, because, this is what fills you up. Just be safe. Don't do anything unsafe. And I'm like, and that kind of gave me an aha moment, in that the next generation technicians, they think much differently. But what I have found is if you can engage the Gen Zs and the millennials even too into feeling part of an organization, part of a team, part of something that's helping other people, even though their attitude may not show it all the time, but they will be very dedicated. But they have to make a connection. There has to be a connection between what they do and their fulfillment. Whereas back in the old day, and I'm dating myself, when I first started, it was all about grit. Yeah, this is a terrible situation, but you just got to just deal with it. If you're a skilled trade pro or a business owner that employs skilled trades people, you may want to check out the BEST Skilled Trade Career Development Process. I know that's a mouthful, but what we cover in this process is the 4 key elements that can help transform an okay or even a good career into something amazing. We cover technical excellence, work ethic, how to build generational wealth, and most importantly, how to maintain work-life balance, which is exceptionally challenging these days. We're having a free workshop on BEST coming soon. We're currently doing pre-registry on it. Now, one of the things about this workshop, since it is free, we're limiting the size because this is an interactive workshop. We're going to try and learn as much as help others in the skilled trades. So go to skilledtraderescue.com, go to the top, any one of the menu bars, look for BEST to read up on what's going on with this process, and pre-register for this workshop that'll be coming your way soon. All right, well, without further ado, let's jump right back into this episode of the skilledtraderescue.com podcast.
Hey, I was there with you. I know. Yeah, and that's the disconnect, right? If you're, if you're running a business nowadays and you're thinking back to, man, back in the days, it was just shut up and do this work and don't complain, and you got initiated into the trade some way, right? You're out there digging a ditch with a spoon, whatever it is, like you're doing your thing. It's a different world today. You can't take that and say, because I was treated like this and taught like this, I'm going to force everybody else to be treated like this and taught like this. And we call it positional leadership. It's do what I say, not what I do, type mentality. And yeah, you may have a few employees. That's what I'll call it. They do just enough to get by. You're paying them to do just enough. I call those employees. But you're not going to have any team members, and team members are the ones that are going above and beyond for your organization because they love you, they love your vision, they love the team, they want to be a part of it, they love your customer. That's what the next generation brings to the table. Mm-hmm. But we as business owners have to be willing to adapt the way we approach that leadership, and not everybody's willing to do that. And I think that's where you kind of get that negative connotation of nobody wants to work, because the companies that are doing it actually are in demand and have waiting lists for people that are coming to work for them.
Mm-hmm. So what do we do about attracting the next generation? So here's one of the things that I've been just really, I guess you could call it obsessed about. I don't know. Yeah. I'm looking at the stats of, let's take a high school sophomore at large, male, female, doesn't matter. Usually right around the time they're talking about SATs or, what are you going to do after high school? The parents are having those discussions. At some point, the counseling department is having those discussions. Some trade schools, not very many, but some come into the high schools and talk to them. But I think there's an abundance of, I'm going to say pressure, but accessibility to the college solution, the 4-year college solution versus trades. I think it's way out of balance, if you will. Mm-hmm. One of the things I've been challenged with is the first thing that gets pulled out when it comes to decision making, not the first thing, but a leader in the information that the parents and the students that are getting ready to graduate get is wage data. And that wage data that comes out is, from what I found, is traditionally very, very low. In other words, what a plumber makes in Dallas is going to be, if you look at the BLS, Bureau of Labor Statistics, or whatever, everybody quotes that. You'll notice that the wage data is significantly lower than reality, not in all markets, but in a lot. And that has been a major contributor to a lot of these students going off to college. And let's just face it, not all students are college material, right? That's why it's taken them, some of them, 6 or 7 years to graduate in a lot of debt. So what do we do about that, Dan? What can we do as a community in skilled trades enthusiasts to see if we can change stuff and try to get more consideration to skilled trades versus college?
Yeah, so there's a lot. That's a big question. So I'm going to go back to what's going to attract and retain the top team member, the next generation, and one is technology. You said it there, and I think Ty talked about it as well. But yeah, technology is going to. I mean, we have to meet people where they're at and build something that's going to be attractive to them, not necessarily just to us. And so a good example of that is whenever I teach people to attract and retain their next team member, we talk about building an avatar. What does that look like? And so avatar is, the age of the person, demographic, where they're located, things like that. And then we start to narrow it down. By the time we figure out who that person is, we figure out what social media platforms they're on. And the way to influence people, the next generation, there's a lot of different ways. I was going to say going into schools, but that's been talked about for a while, is getting out of our comfort zone and saying, you know what, maybe there's something to this social media platform that will help me influence the next generation, and start to show them not ads. They don't want to see ads. They don't care about coupons. They want to see inside your doors. They want to see y'all doing team events. They want to see y'all going fishing. They want to see y'all training. They want to see y'all soldering pipe or working on HVAC units, or they want to see y'all doing these things and realize that, wow, that looks like a pretty fun team. I want to be a part of that, because you said it earlier. These kids want to be a part of something bigger than themselves. And that's one way that you can do that. And it's just leadership. You start to influence them and influence them and influence them. And then when you go to the schools, they see your brand. Like, oh, I seen that company on TikTok or whatever. Like, they're doing really cool things. And then you go in and spend time in the job fairs in the high schools. And I think that needs to be the movement, because it serves us two things, Martin. One is it will help you attract and retain your next technician, because technicians have bad days. And between calls, they're on their phones, they're looking through a social media platform. They may be pissed off at the company one day, they see your brand, you're having a good time. The next day, they see your brand, you're having a good time, right? You're talking to that person, you're training your team, you're doing all these things. One day, they're going to go to your website and reach out and call you, or go to that Indeed app and reach out. So it serves as that benefit, but it also serves as bringing you into the presence of the homes, because the parents are seeing those things, right? And their kids are in high school, and the parents are seeing, like, wow, this company really has it going on. They really love and care for their team. Now they're talking to their kids about it. Hey, well, have you considered a trade? I follow this company, I've seen this. And it really starts to trickle down through there. And I'm not saying that we should stop going to school. I think the trades programs are awesome. The town I live in, the trades program is big here, but it's a small town, Texas. It's not like that all over the nation. And so I think there's movement everywhere for us, but I'm just kind of expanding everybody's thought pattern that's listening is, hey, we could really leverage social media if we're willing to get uncomfortable and show behind the scenes of our organizations, not just try to sell customers on social media.
That's a great point, Dan. I didn't really think about that, in that if you really think about it, when before the internet, there was a very narrow channel about how parents and people graduating high school would hear about skilled trades. You'd hear about it on the news. There may be somebody come to the school. But nowadays, there's a lot of inroads into the eyeballs, right? Through all these social media channels and stuff. And I think if you can tell the compelling story, you're right. I hadn't really thought about it in that perspective. I know I've been in front of students before, explaining to them some basics about HVAC refrigeration, and I went through a scenario of, well, when was the last time you guys used Google or YouTube, right? And of course, all the hands go up. I said, all right, well, have you guys ever thought about what happens when you search for something on Google or you want to look at a video on YouTube? And they're like, no, it's just on my phone. I'm like, okay, well, let's break that down a little bit. So, I go, when you put in a search on, who has the best garage layout, or, whatever you're interested in.
Mm-hmm.
And you go on and you search for a video, it sends a request to a server, which could be anywhere in the world. That server has to grab that video and stream it out to your phone. Great, miracle. Well, in the background, that server, that data that's on there is implanted on a blade server that's in a massive, hundreds of thousands of square foot building. And those blade servers that provide you with this amazing information are very fickle. If they get too hot, they don't work so good. They don't last that long. And if your refrigeration system goes out, meaning that the chillers turn off and the plumber's not there to fix a valve that isn't working and the electrician's not there to fix a bad electrical connection or whatever, that server goes down. You don't have Google, you don't have Facebook, you don't have YouTube. And then I just shut up and watch the faces because nobody really gets that connection. It just happens,
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. And it's like that all over the trades. People don't realize where their water comes from or where it goes and things like that. But there's so many great companies out there too that are bringing virtual reality to the trades. That's a great marketing piece for your company. You're bringing that in. It's relatively inexpensive investment to bring in the next generation to your organization and get them trained up.
Right. So what's you can keep on going with your Built for the Trades, and how's that going? Are you on the road quite a bit, or what?
It's a great question. I mean, yeah, we work with companies all over the nation. I'm not on the road that much. I travel maybe a couple times a quarter, but I do, a majority of my stuff is done virtually through Zoom. I do go on site sometimes, but yeah, things are going really good. We're definitely a growing organization that's niched down to, we help you grow your business through leadership development. And that's just like, we believe as you grow your business, it should be self-operating, meaning that you got the right leaders in place that know what to do, and they're out there accomplishing those things, moving towards the vision that you want to achieve, where the business owners can go out and they can work in and out of the business, right? They can go spend time with their family and really enjoy their life and not be pulling their hair out 24/7. So that's the attractive piece that we bring to the table.
Quick announcement about a new ebook that we have out called Technical Excellence. This is the foundation of the BEST skilled trade career development process. Some of the things that we'll be covering in this book include the power of mentors and how to find the right ones that will help you consistently move your skilled trade career forward. Creating your vision. What do you want to get accomplished over the next 3 to 5 years in your skilled trade journey? Success strategies. So once you've developed your vision, you need strategies that will help you execute that process to get things going and keep them going. Success habits. Everybody has good habits and bad habits. Within the book, we help identify what habits are hurting your career, and we try to replace those bad habits with ones that support your career. Taking in feedback. This is a learned skill that is very, very critical. When you have a challenge, you're getting your mentors involved. You measure those challenges against your vision, your strategies. You need to get advice. And learning how to take that advice, apply that advice to the challenges before you is definitely an important skill that will serve you very well over your skilled trade career. For more information on the Technical Excellence ebook, as well as other ebooks that we have coming up, go to skilledtraderescue.com, go to the top of any one of the pages and click on the Learn ebook link, and that'll take you to our ebook page. You can read up on what's going on. There's some discounts if you get a chance to watch the video on the page, and I hope you enjoy this book and you get a lot of value out of it.
That's really what we do.
Okay, so let me throw another scenario at you. Let's say we've got a technician, you pick the trade, driving around in a service truck. They got 8, 9, 10 years of experience, and they've been toying with the idea of starting their own business. And what would be the best Dan advice for an individual like that that is considering that? What's the first steps to take? Who to talk to, what organizations to join, what can give them a leg up to help them avoid the initial mistakes that happen commonly on new business startups?
All right, so I'll start with the home because I believe that if your home life's not good, you lose a lot of leadership capacity. 50% of your leadership capacity. So depending on who we're talking to, let's assume we're talking to a married couple. I would say you got to have 100% buy-in from your spouse before you ever take a leap of anything. And I think that's first and foremost important. But people a lot of times let perfection stop progress. And what I mean is they feel like they have to have all their ducks in a row before they can take that leap. And really what they need to do is have a little money saved up, figure out what their company is going to be, go out and do it. Like when you start a company, I think the best approach is to just have an apprentice mindset, meaning that, when you're opening up your LLC, your bank accounts, or whatever, you're going out to look for a CRM or whatever it is, like going into it, letting people know that, hey, look, I've never done this before. So I'd love like some extra education on this. I think that's a really cool approach because people will usually give you a lot more information than if you try to act like you know what you're talking about as you go into it. So that's kind of like my first advice is make sure your partner's 100% bought in because, there's going to be ups and downs when you start a business. Make sure that you just go into that with that apprentice mindset. And I would say third, like, don't steal customers, like show some integrity because it goes full circle. Whatever you do to the person you're working for right now, it will happen to you by one of your employees later on down the road. So I would say lead with integrity and go out and start your business and good things will come. People, good tradesmen and women out there who start a business and they have a good reputation. To grow from zero to $1 million in sales is done pretty fast these days. They're out there hustling. A couple of years, they can get that done. And it really changes the lifestyle. Other good advice that I've had before, just thinking about the mastermind group I'm a part of and hearing some of these guys talk is one guy said, he started with 2 trucks and he was in one. He knew he had to fill another. And as soon as he filled that other truck, he was already buying a 3rd truck and it would sit out in front of his house. And that would be his motivation to get that truck filled. Then he'd buy a 4th truck and sit out in front of his house. So he always had a waiting truck for him as he grew his business. And that was his motivation to get up and work harder every day. Mm-hmm. Thought that was kind of a cool concept.
What does it cost now on average? Let's say you get you're most comfortable with plumbing. What does it cost nowadays to a good cushion if you don't want to get a bank loan to do a reasonable startup on a little plumbing shop? What's a good amount of capital to have saved up to do that, you think?
I honestly don't know, Martin.
Okay, I'm just
I started a company anytime soon, but no, people start with all different levels.
Yeah.
It'd be nice if you had $100,000 in the bank and go out and buy a truck or 2 and do your thing. But, it depends on your approach. If you're buying a truck and putting a big down payment on it and then shelving it and wrapping it and putting material in it, even if you're making payments on it, you're still going to be putting in 20 or 30 grand just to get that truck on the road if you're buying a pretty nice truck. So it really depends on your budget. When companies start up and they get going, our rule of thumb is that you need to have 3 months of your operating expenses in the bank at all times. It's kind of your emergency fund. And so as a small business, if your operating expenses is, also say it's $10,000 a month, it'd be nice to have $30,000 in the bank as kind of a cushion to where if your phone stopped ringing, you could pay the light bill and fill the truck up with gas and survive. And so I think that's a pretty good rule of thumb. But yeah, I just personally haven't started a business, and everybody that reaches out to us has usually been in business for 3 or 4 years already. Mm-hmm. And so I just can't give you a good educated answer on that right now.
Yeah, I had heard that there's two components to that because I asked that question quite a bit, and the best answer I got was there's 2 components, your personal and professional side of it. So if you're married and you got a bunch of kids, of course, that's a big variable, right? That's something you got to, what I've heard is a 6-month emergency fund. So if you and your wife lost your job, you could survive for 6 months personally. And then on the business side, I think what you said is accurate. Of course, it depends on the market you're in and stuff. But if you don't get one phone call, if you don't get one opportunity to go to work, which is super rare, You need to have enough money to keep the cell phone on for your business for at least 3-4 months, and that's a good place to start. Do you know Gary McCready? Have you heard of him? He's an HVAC guy up in Canada, and I had him on the podcast, and he super smart guy. He and I think what he's doing is sort of a model for how an HVAC business anyway would start. And he gave me a really great idea. I wish I'd have thought of it when I was back, starting my business. First thing he did when he started his little HVAC business, he was a technician for a long time, and what he did was he networked for about a year or so while he was working for somebody else on his own time. He would network with other shops in town, other business owners. And what he did was he said, look, I'm starting my own business, or I'm planning on doing it. And if you want, I could subcontract to you. I'll have my insurance and all my stuff I'm doing, because I'll be doing my own thing, totally transparent. I won't steal your customers. And if you run into a job and you can't handle it, I'll be your guy. And that's how he got his start. And I was like, man, that's brilliant, because everybody's shorthanded, right? And you don't have enough work. These other guys that he was subcontracting to, they may not have had enough work to keep a guy like Gary employed all the time. So it just made sense. And there's enough work out there for everybody. There just is. Anyway, I just thought that was a brilliant idea.
Yeah, I like that idea, because it just kind of, you're being open and honest, and you're doing it the right way. And yeah, I mean, like you said, there's work out there for everybody. And I think having the abundance mindset in this day and age is the way to go. And what I mean is that competitors can coexist. Like we'll even us, like Built for the Trades, we'll pick up companies in the same market, and the companies that we work with, we're transparent with that, and they're all okay with that. They're not worried about that, and they actually really like to have a relationship with those people and know those people. And so it's a different mindset. I think the old school mindset is very much like, this is mine, I'm never going to share it, I don't want my competitors to get this information. And so it's that reverse approach to doing that. And I even think when I've been doing this a long time, and I've had the pleasure of leading a lot of really good people. And early in my career, when somebody left my business to start their own business, it would hurt. It would be like, man, I can't believe this person's leaving me to go start their own business. Now they're going to be my competitor. But I slowly grew through that, realizing that, you know what, that's actually a feather in the cap when you can take somebody and take them through. And now they are usually your very talented people that want to go out and start their own business. And instead of being negative about it, you actually can be abundant with it and say, you know what, let me help you get there. Mm-hmm. And what I've found is that being in business, or being in the trades for 24 years, is now I work for some of those people who left my business. They've hired me as a business coach. So it's kind of funny to go full circle and to be working for those people that once worked for me, who left to go start their own business years ago. And that's why I think, like, if I would have severed that relationship at that moment, this opportunity would have never came further down the road. But we were able to keep it going, and it's gone full circle.
How long have you been doing Built for the Trades now, full time?
Started January 2020.
2020, right? So, yeah, I'm gonna blow your mind here. So you keep doing what you're doing, and where it's really going to get interesting is 10 years, 15 years from now, you're going to start getting some phone calls, and those phone calls are going to be, Dan, I know I didn't tell you this at the time, but my business was this close to not making it until you showed up, right? And you're going to get you're going to get a reality check like that. It takes a while. But I got a feeling that you're gonna be amazed on how many family and career trees you've impacted.
I hope so. That'd be awesome.
Get your head wrapped around that for a minute.
Yeah. I hope so. It's being in the coaching space, it's totally different than just being a business owner in the trade. I mean, there's ups and downs and whether you're a business owner in the trade or you're a coach, it just looks different, because you're dealing with a lot of different companies across the nation who are either up or down. They're never all up at the same time, you know, so you're on that ride with them, and it's an emotional roller coaster. But I mean, I think I said this earlier, like my true passion is to help, like, when I can see people achieve their goals and see them achieve their life dreams, like, that's what fills my tank. That's it. Mm-hmm. Like, I want to help people get there, and some people's roads are rockier than others, but at the end of the day, it's just a matter of like the difference between people who are successful and people who aren't. Are the people that are successful actually take the leap and do it. There's a lot. I mean, even I think about my kids. I have 4 small kids. I've been married 18 years, and my 8-year-old, he's big into YouTube, right? And like most kids, he wants to start a YouTube channel. Hey, Dad, I want to start a YouTube channel. I want to do this. I want to do that. And think about the YouTubers nowadays, the millionaires who are doing all this money in YouTube. The biggest difference was there was millions of other kids who wanted to start YouTube channels. The biggest difference was is they did it.
Right.
And so that goes back to what you asked me about people who are thinking about starting their own business. It's like the difference is some people talk about it and some people do it. And I'm not saying everybody who does it is successful, and they do fail, and you will fail. You might not fail in business, but you will fail a lot along the way. But it's just a matter of doing it. And when you fail, you get back up, dust yourself off, and you learn from it, and you just move forward again. And you just keep moving forward again, and surround yourself with good people, because the biggest influencer on our life is what we take in. So it's either the people we surround ourselves with, the things we watch or listen to. And so if you're a young guy or gal in the trades and you want to start your own business, you know what? Turn that podcast. You already listened to the podcast. You're doing a good job. Turn the podcast on. Listen to the audio book. Get some motivational stuff going on in your life. Turn the crap off that's not bringing positive things into your life, because that will start to influence your thoughts. Your thoughts will start to influence your words, and your words will start to influence your actions. And your actions will ultimately influence your results. And so people don't really realize the box they put themselves in when they don't think back all the way to who they're surrounding themselves with and what are they watching and listening to, because that's ultimately going to be the influencer for the end result of whatever they're getting in their life. So if you're listening and you're plateauing in business, surround yourself, join a mastermind group, right? Surround yourself with other people who are successful, and guarantee you will become more successful in doing that.
Yeah, man. That's perfect. That's perfect. So, Dan, I'm looking at your LinkedIn profile here. So those of you out there who are interested in, you have a business, or, you're thinking about starting a business, he's the guy to talk to. So you can look him up on LinkedIn if you're out there. What's your website? builtforthetrades.com. And his phone number's on there. Don't blow up his phone with advertising, though. I'll find out about it.
Yeah, builtforthetrades.com, and we work with all different trades. It's I tell people it's more the person than the trade. It's the person if they're out there wanting to grow their business and do it with integrity. And I love it. I mean, I say that like I'm perfect. I'm not perfect, but we like to offer some free resources. So on our website, there's a free resource tab, and we have one called it's an ebook. It's 3 steps to attract and retain top team members. And that's a great free download they can take and look and read through it. Short read. They can learn more about what we do here at Built for the Trades. And ultimately, I just appreciate you having me on the show, Martin. I think it's really cool. And we also have a Built for the Trades podcast. So if people want to go over there and listen. But hopefully when I started, I said I'm a 2nd generation master plumber. So I'm hoping that people didn't turn the podcast off when I said that, if they're in the HVAC trade. It's like it's funny because, just thinking about leadership as influence, you attract who you are. It's like, I do work with HVAC companies. I do work with electricians. I do work with other trades. It's like, you're all welcome to reach out.